My name is Moses Powell. I've been studying Jiu-Jitsu for the last 20 years. I'm the master for Renda Visitashino. And at this particular time, I'm a senior master in the art of Jiu-Jitsu Te and Jiu-Jitsu Ryu.
.radio.net presents to you some of the most deadly jiu-jitsu masters in the world. Trained in the vicious urban inner-city street combat system of Sanukas Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, this art was created by the legendary Dr. Moses Powell, the father of American contemporary jiu-jitsu and the greatest martial artist of the 20th century. This network brings together 4 radio shows 4 nights a week, starting with Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Each one teach one, with the Pia Master himself, Grandmaster Urban Muhammad, and his protege, Professor Terrence Hale. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Modern Combat Masters, hosted by the inheritor of GM Billy Davis Jiu-Jitsu, guru of his own Filipino system, and Sanukas Master, Grandmaster Daryl Sargent, and his co-host, Sifu Reseda de Jesus. Thursday nights at 9 p.m. is Professor Tom Curry's radio talk show, a Kenpo master and professor of Sanukas Ryu, 20 years law enforcement, senior tactical training instructor for intelligence retired, and author of the official Sanukas Ryu Jiu-Jitsu testing and training curriculum. And Friday nights at 8 p.m. is Making the Connection, hosted by the president of DocRadio.net, Grandmaster in the art of Sanukas Ryu and Soke of Kuroshi Kaikan martial arts system, and president of the Family of Sanukas organization, Soki Haisan Khalik, and his co-host, Shihan Farouk Gibbs. All of these shows can be linked to online by typing in docradio.net or listening live at the scheduled time by dialing 646-716-6825. DocRadio.net is also proud to present DocMagazine.net, the world's largest martial art magazine dedicated to Dr. Moses Powell, Sanukas Ryu Eye-to-Eye Jiu-Jitsu, Urban Tactical Street Self-Defense, and Streetology. Please join our Facebook group by typing in docradio.net and follow us on Twitter by typing docradio.net. Thank you for your support, and in the words of Doc, eye to eye, heart to heart, to the wall and back, os.
Eye to eye. This is Fukan Shabazz, the Senjokai Dojo in Atlanta, Georgia. Warrior Within branch. Tonight we have a special guest. My guest is Grandmaster Robert Crosson, who is a legend in the Sanukas Ryu system. My show started a little late tonight. Normally it would start around 9 o'clock, but we had some technical difficulties, but we now got it worked out. Grandmaster Robert Crosson is schooled in several established self-defense systems, and is with his diverse experience, deep understanding, and mastery of the core principles of the martial arts, including karate, judo, aikido, and kung fu, that has led him to successfully develop and teach his own self-defense system called Shuguru Jiu-Jitsu. He has won over 19 world championships and over 4,000 awards internationally. With over 50 years of experience behind him, Grandmaster Crosson has not only established himself as a top self-defense specialist, but a world-renowned champion, teacher, and dynamic performer. Master Crosson has been inducted into several martial arts Hall of Fame and is considered as one of the top martial artists in the world. Before I bring in my guest, Mr. Robert Crosson, I just want to say that although what I read of him is amazing, and me coming up in the Sanukas Ryu system, I doubt I would even be able to ever accomplish half of that. But I will like to say that this brother is an extremely humble man. I mean, the accomplishment. I mean, I called him, I talked to him. He's extremely humble. And before I bring him in, I just want to play a clip of Grandmaster Crosson from the 70s, just so people who may not know about him. This is a clip of Grandmaster Crosson and Soke Little John Davis doing their thing back in the 70s. One second. So with no further ado, let me now bring in Grandmaster Crosson. Grandmaster Crosson?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
How you doing, brother? And before I start, my co-host and my Shihan, Sensei Salahuddin, he has just joined us. Let me bring him in too, Grandmaster. 1 second.
Yes.
Shihan?
Yes.
Oh, sir. Okay.
Oh, how we doing? How you doing, Grandmaster?
Oh, I'm great and getting better, brother.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. I don't know why, but I'm hearing a phone ring.
You're hearing a phone ring? You're hearing a phone ring now?
Yes.
Are you still hearing it? Grandmaster, are you still hearing the phone ring?
Yes, I'm still hearing it.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
It's going now.
Okay. All right. So let me just try to set the tone. Let me ask you that clip that I played. That was a clip I found on YouTube with you and Selke Little John back in the 70s. Do you remember that clip?
Oh, I remember that clip. That was wow. I think that was at Columbia University, and yeah, we were doing a demonstration. I think I had an afro back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually, at that time, I think I may have been a black belt 3rd or 4th degree, and just kind of like I would say kind of like a sparring partner for Soke Little John, because back in his days, he was a dynamic champion, and even though like Chuck Norris and those guys, they were. But the story really wasn't told, because he used to whip a lot of those guys, but they wouldn't really put it in Black Belt magazine. They put a little clip. But, yeah, so I was kind of like the sparring partner, and it was interesting. And like Dr. Powell told me one time, he said, you're either going to be real good one day or you're going to be real dead, because this stuff you're doing is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Grandmaster, before I get into the core questions, on your website, I was reading it. I just had to meditate on that. The fact that you have a lot of experience in different martial arts. On your website, you talk about you talk about you've mastered the core principles, and let me ask you, what is the core principle of karate? From your perspective, what is the core principle of karate that you've mastered?
Well, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't go so far as to say I've mastered anything, because right now I'm just a black belt represents excellent beginner, and I'm learning each and every day. I train every day. I try to learn something new, whether it's from one of my little students or whether it's from something pertaining to life in generally, and then I try to pass that on. But I think pretty much I would say first the core. And as crazy as this may sound, and I'll put it in a basic way, and this is what I teach my students. Respect. Respect is the most important thing in karate and in life. And through respect, the rest will come.
What is the core principle that you've seen in judo?
Well, I mean, once again, judo, you have various techniques, which involves throwing, grappling. I've been a practitioner of judo. I actually learned a lot of my judo techniques through Soke Little John and Dr. Powell. But one of the cores, as far as any forms of martial arts, I think one of the main cores, if that's what you want to call it, is first the proper mentality in order to get into that art, and then be persistent so you can perfect that art. But once again, I always say that a black belt is just a white belt that's stuck with it. So black belt represents excellent beginner. to me. And
How many black belts do you have?
well, right now I don't have a lot of black belts because unfortunately, people come and go in your lives. I have right now in my dojo approximately 12 black belts, but some of them are younger, some are teenagers, they are in college, some are business professionals, some are law enforcement agents, so it's people from all walks of life. But for the most part, my youngest black belt has been with me about 13 years now.
Wow. All right, Grandmaster, let me get right into the questions. All right, first question. You won over 19 world championships and 4,000 awards internationally. Can you tell us about these 19 world championships? Like, what were they about? Were these martial arts championships?
It's different championships from way back. I'd have to go in my archives and pull up some stuff. One of them was world championships in Trinidad. It was 1985. I was on the team with Billy Blanks, Kevin Thompson, Curtis Jordan, and these were some of the top fighters out there. I actually was going down as a official, but I wound up being on the team and wound up competing. So I've won a great majority of my world titles in weaponry. I created a weapon years ago called the 3-section staff, but it's a 3-section. It's like a pipe that breaks into 3 sections with chains on it, and then I put knives, razor-sharp knives on the end, and that was one of my main weapons. But I also utilized both staff, which I've won championships in. I've won, oh my goodness, I've won some of my championships in kata. I mean, if you could find any of those old archives, I used to be rated #1 in New York and New Jersey and Philadelphia, and then I've competed in places like Panama, Venezuela, Bogota, Colombia, and throughout the United States and Canada. So I've won world championships in several different fields, but areas, but pretty much in weapons kata and self-defense. And then, I did my fighting back in the earlier days when I used to travel on the circuit with Soke Littlejohn, and that there was a learning experience by itself.
Well, let me ask you, what was the most brutal fight? Who was the most brutal opponent you ever had to fight?
Well, let me tell you this story. This is crazy. I actually had won a title. I came back to New York, and I got into a little confrontation. I really don't like to talk about this too much. It kind of messes with me just talking about it. But, here I am, just won a nice title and everything. I'm on top of the world. I got into a confrontation. I try not to argue with folks. And next thing I know, this person swung at me. So I was fortunate enough to move because it was pretty quick. And to my surprise, I countered, and I tried to hit him with a hook punch. And they grabbed my hand, twist me up, threw me. I'm saying this is not possible. So I couldn't believe it. I came back up, and I had a technique that I had been working on, which was a jumping, spinning back kick, which I had it down pat. I did the jump, spin, back kick. This person picked me up and slammed me to the concrete and punched me in my mouth. And I was humbled there. And, that was the last time I ever talked back to my grandmother. I got you there, didn't I? No, but I would say true.
Hey, Grandmaster, let me play something.
Yes.
1 second. That was funny.
What was that?
That was laughter.
Oh, okay. Right. But on the real side, about 19, like I said, I have to go in archives. Truthfully, it's just so many tournaments that I've been involved in. I have to look at my trophies and think back, when did I win this one or whatever. But there are some that stuck out. I believe it was about 19, I'm going to say 79.
Yeah.
I went to Caracas, Venezuela, and I fought in a world championships there. The first year, I did a demonstration myself and Soke Little John. And then the second year we went, I wound up fighting. And that was, I would say, one of the craziest times that I had as far as competition because, one, they had like these soldiers around with guns, with machine guns, and I had to wait in this room. You know, after I fought, I had to go back in the room and wait, and it was like crazy. It was at a place called El Poliedro in Caracas, Venezuela. And, you know, I'm waiting in the room. Grandmaster George Cofield, he also was there. And it was a full arena. But in any event, I had fought that day. I fought a few times, probably about 8-9 times that day, and won in my division, which was at that time I was fighting in middleweight division, and then I had to fight the heavyweight champ and the lightweight champ. I won in those divisions. And then I had to wait around to fight the grand champion, who was a guy named Carlos Planchart, who had won the championship about 6 years in a row. And I had fought all day. I'm, you know, a little tired. When I got around to fighting Carlos, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, he comes in fresh. I probably on the beach, you know, getting coming out of the jacuzzi and relaxing the whole day. And I've been fighting all day, so I had to fight this guy. And let me tell you, he was no joke. But I thank God that I prepared myself correctly for that. I had to get myself up mentally because I was pretty much worn out physically, and I had the aches and pains and bruises. But that was the last fight and the final fight. And I just remember, I you know, it reminded me of Sugar Ray Leonard Duran. Because when he came out, they were chanting his name. They had the flags up and everything. When I came out, they kind of started booing and stomping. But then they changed it because they realized, oh, that's the guy that fought today. He was pretty entertaining. This should be pretty good. And it was a good fight. It was a good fight. I can't tell you point for point, but he surprised me, and he came out, and he had some nice techniques, some nice moves, but I just had to suck it up. And I sucked it up, and I'm giving you the short version. I sucked it up, and I started scoring, and I think it was like something like 9 to, I may have had like 7 or 5 or something. I was behind, and the clock was running, and this guy hit me after the referee had called, you know, Yame. He hit me, and I'll never forget that. He hit me on the jaw, and the only thing that kept me from probably passing out was my pride. And I fell to the floor, and it felt like it was slow motion, but I jumped up and I hook kicked this dude in the head. Tried to disqualify me. You know, it was like even Steven. Anyway, to make a long story short, that was kind of brutal, but eventually I scored the last point. And, you know, but I gave him the trophy. He picked me up on his shoulders, paraded around with the Venezuelan flag and everything, and we became good friends after that. But that was one of my outstanding times that I can remember. I mean, I've had some situations in the street where I was attacked by like 6 people, 6 guys, and once again, through the grace of God, I'm here to tell the story. So, you know, I got a little bruised up, but most of my bruises was from hitting the guys empty hand, hitting them on the skull and kicking them in the wherever I hit them, you know, elbows or whatever. But I came out victorious. I had one cut on the left side of my ear, and I remember a guy threw a bottle, and it must have been, I don't know, it was just God guiding me, or it must have been, I don't know. But I happened to turn, and this is like some movie stuff. I probably never could do it again. I caught the bottle, and I remember I caught it with my right hand, and it bent my pinky nail back, and I threw the bottle, and it hit the guy on his, like on the side of his ear and shoulder. And I looked around, and these guys were laying out. It's nothing that I really wanted to do, but you know, I feared for my life at the time, and it was like I was in a daydream. And I'm saying, you know, while I'm doing this, I'm saying, is this real? And I'm asking myself, is this really happening? But at the same time, I'm telling myself, man, if you slip up, this is it. You're going. And it was crazy. But anyway, what happened, the police came, they grabbed everybody up and stuff, and what was good about it was that it was the same police I had trained in that country earlier that morning, so they arrested all the guys and put them in jail or put them behind bars in a holding pen or whatever, and they asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I just want to talk to them, and I talked to them, explained to them, first of all, that wasn't the right thing to do. I could have took all you guys out, and, I just talked to them a little bit, and they was grateful that I didn't go as far as I could have went. So that was another time that was kind of brutal, but that was the trophy this time was my life, which I won that, so that's good.
Grandmaster, I'm glad you're here to talk about it. Definitely glad to hear you. Next question, Grandmaster. How did you come to know about Sanukas Ryu?
Well, I actually let me just say this. September 16th was my birthday, and on September 16th, celebrated. Thank you. 58 years of life. And I'm also celebrating 58 years of being involved in the martial arts, celebrating over 30 years of teaching, empowering, and impacting lives throughout the world. And when I was 14, I would say, I went to a demonstration at a school 258. I actually, well, let me just go back, because my original instructor was my dad, Reverend James Crosson, who was a hand-to-hand combat instructor. He taught, in the military, and he started training me. My first experience with the martial arts was about 1957, which is kind of crazy because I was 3 years old. And the thing about it is that he used to show my brother and I little techniques, little Jiu-Jitsu tricks, as he called them, but I can remember every move that he ever showed me. I mean, from 3 years old, and as I got older, I just kept practicing. I never forgot the moves. And then, as I got older, I was introduced to a friend named Johnny, who was a practitioner of Taekwondo, and he started teaching me a few kicks and so forth, and it really got my interest. But when I turned, I'm giving you the quick version once again. At the age of, I would say, it had to be about, it was about 1967, now that I think of it, because I was in the 7th grade. I went to a demonstration, and it was at a school called 258 in Brooklyn. Excuse me, I'm fighting a little cold here. But it was at a school called 258 in Brooklyn, and I'm sitting there. I had some experience with karate. I was a green belt in karate by then, because I also studied under Grandmaster George Cofield and some of his understudies, his black belts. But yeah. So I had some experience, but I don't know. It just wasn't enough for me. I mean, the karate was good, the overhead blocks, the front kicks, and all that. But it's just that I had all this movement, and they was telling me you got to slow down. Don't move like that. Just do your block and stand still. And I'm thinking, from this young age, well, if you stand still, they could hit you. So I need to move. And so I went to this demonstration. Lo and behold, it was Dr. Powell and Little John Davis. And I don't remember it being called Sanukas Ryu back then.
Self-defense complete.
Okay.
Was it called self-defense complete back then?
That might have been it. I was so intrigued with what I saw, I didn't know what it was called. Jiu-Jitsu, self-defense complete, karate. Yeah. I just wanted to do it because, when I saw Little John Davis move, he had like 8 or 9 black belts come at him. And that was the greatest thing I've seen since the Green Hornet back then. So I was convinced. I said, wow, a brother doing this, and this is live. This is no trick cameras. From then, I said, I want to do this. And then I saw some of the other students, well, before Soke Little John. But when I saw him, I was convinced. And I think Soke Little John had just turned about 16 or 17.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And then Dr. Powell, I don't know, he might have been about 19 or 20 back then.
Wow.
So he came out, and that was it. That was the icing on the cake. And after I saw that, that was it. That was it. That was it. And the next day, I showed up at 258, and I wanted to do classes, and they told me, well, you're too young. So I used to just go down. I used to watch, and then eventually I met a young lady that had trained under Dr. Powell, and I was fortunate enough to learn a few things from her, and lo and behold, one day Soke Ludajon walks in. And I'm like, that was like Bruce Lee walking in for me. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I never forget, he said, who is this guy? And he was just joking, but I said, my name is Robert Crosson. He said, what are you doing here? And, you know, he kind of, he was joking with me, but he raised his voice and stuff. I got a little nervous. He said, well, you're here now. You got to fight me. I almost started crying. But he said, no. Started talking, and that day he said, do you have a uniform? I said, yeah, and he started showing me some moves and stuff. That's it. I was sold. And then I got the opportunity maybe like a week or two later to meet Dr. Powell in person. And that was it. The rest was like history. So that was, wow. I met Dr. Powell maybe like 44 years ago almost.
Grandmaster, let me ask you question 3. Who was Dr. Moses Powell, and how great was he really?
You know, people don't know the greatness of this man, you know, and it's unfortunate that he did not receive the recognition worldwide. Because, I mean, you know, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris and those guys, you know, good and well, you know, all the power to them. You know, Bruce Lee was like well, I wouldn't say a hero, but, you know, he was somebody I looked up to. Chuck Norris and a lot of these guys, they was getting the play back in the 70s. But Dr. Powell, he was a real live hero to me because the stuff he was doing besides his physical ability, this man like 219 pounds floating on one finger. I mean, I've seen it up close. I've felt that one finger on my chest, so I know it's real.
What did it feel like? What did it feel like?
I mean, he was definitely a great man. He was a great man. He never got the just due to him, you know, and I've seen him do some amazing stuff. And I had the opportunity at age, I just had turned 17, and Dr. Powell, he said, Robert, he said, do you want to, no, he didn't say, do you want, he said, you're going to be going with me to do a demonstration. So I'm okay. So I'm in there. Okay, I'm ready. So he said, you need to pack a suitcase. We're going to be traveling a little bit. So I said, sir, where are we going? He said, you going wherever I go. I said, yes, sir. Okay, that's good. That's good enough. I packed my suitcase. It was summertime. I'm thinking maybe we're going down south or who knows, somewhere, maybe Florida. I don't know. We get on this plane. I'm so excited. We're flying for a few hours. All of a sudden, this is the first time I ever saw turquoise color water. And I look, and I said, wow, look at that big swimming pool. People start laughing because, you know, here I'm a young man from Brownsville, born and raised in the ghettos, and, you know, never really went anywhere outside of New York besides maybe New Jersey and one time to North Carolina. But we landed, first place we land was Antigua, which is in the West Indies. And I was Dr. Powell's Uki. I was thrilled, but at the time they had no mats. We did demonstrations either on concrete or wooden splintered floors in old school buildings or even on stages which were either concrete or very hard surfaces with no mats. And, excuse me, and I never forget, I asked him, I said, sir, what do you want me to do? He said, just attack. I'll take care of the rest. You don't need no script. I'll write it out as we go. And that was it. We would do 3 or 4 demonstrations a day. And then we fly to St. Vincent and 3 and 4 there. And at the same time, training the police at the police barracks. And then we went to Trinidad. And then we went to Barbados. We went to Dominica. We went to St. Lucia, St. Vincent. We went to a bunch of places. I mean, that was a life-changing experience for me, and it was on-the-job training. And as a matter of fact, that was another time Dr. Powell said, you're going to be good or you're going to be good and dead. But I think that you're going to be good. And, you know, he used to talk to me and treat me like a son. So it was myself and Dr. Powell, and I got to sit down and speak with him face to face, and he would just tell me things about life and his different philosophies, and just striving to be the best you can be. And, you know, people will misunderstand you, but as long as you have understanding of yourself, then you'll be all right. And I think, you know, it's, of course, I miss Dr. Powell. I think it's a tragedy that people, the world, did not really recognize the greatness. Now, people saw him for his physical ability, being able to float and, you know, move like a gazelle or whatever, but he was outside of his martial arts. He was a dynamic person, you know, and he was like a father to me.
Hey, Grandmaster, let me ask you, when you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it just said, you know, you, or to the audience, so listen on it, in case you just tuned in, I'm interviewing Grandmaster Crosson. In case you don't know, in Sanukas Ryu, you know, we have, you know, there's a handful of legends, and I'm talking to one of the top legends. I mean, he could easily be considered the Jackie Robinson or the Muhammad Ali of the Sanukas Ryu, you know, nation. You know, no, seriously, it really is, and you know, and I'm just giving, you know, humble man, I'm just giving you just due. But before you continue, you know, I was talking to Professor Darryl Sargent, and everywhere I look on the internet, it always say that Dr. Moses Powell was born in Virginia, but he was telling me that Dr. Moses Powell's roots comes from Barbados. Can you talk on his Caribbean roots?
Barbados. Well, you know, I mean, I wasn't around then when he was born, of course, but from what I understand, he was born in Barbados.
He was born in Barbados.
You know, he may have migrated and moved to Virginia somewhere along the line, but from what I remember,
he's a Bayesian man.
Yes.
You know what, Grandmaster? Before I move on to, you know, a lot of schools, they always talk about urban warfare, this for the streets, blah 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 blah. But you know, you mentioned something that I want to touch on. You say you from Brownsville, and you actually my next door neighbor because I was born and raised in East New York. So I was raised in East New York. You raised in Brownsville. Can you tell the audience what those environments was like in terms of the realness of it, and how Sanukas Ryu can help you survive in those type of environments?
Yeah, well, I was raised in Brownsville and East New York, but Brownsville is a rough section of Brooklyn, and back then they had a lot of gang wars going on, and in East New York, and there were certain areas, if you wasn't from that area, don't go in that area. If you wasn't from Bedford-Stuyvesant, don't go there, you know, and it was just, and besides that, unfortunately, there was a lot of racism going on, so you couldn't go in certain areas where, you know what I'm saying, you just couldn't go in certain areas because it was dangerous. But Brownsville and East New York was a place, and it was rough because you either had to learn how to fight or stay in the house, and I never was one for staying in the house and learning at an early age about survival because I've seen people get, actually, I've seen someone get thrown off the roof. I've seen a person get stabbed in his throat in front of me. I was a little boy. I've seen someone get their throat sliced. I was walking one day, and this guy was walking behind me about maybe 5-10 feet, and I hear pop, pop, pop. So I turn, I get low, I look around, this guy falls, and this other guy's running around the corner like putting a gun in his pocket. I've seen, of course, purse snatchings. I've seen people get mugged. I've seen gang fights. By the grace of God, I've been exposed to all that. I've been exposed to being around drug addicts, pimps, drug dealers, and all that stuff. But I was able to make it through, and because of my martial arts, the mental aspect of it, first and foremost, of being focused on the task at hand and having the discipline to stick to what I knew was right. That kept me off drugs, kept me out of jail, kept me in school, and it's helped me to survive in that way. But on the other hand, as far as being attacked, I've had a few situations where guys try to mug me, or I've walked into situations where I was in the middle of a gang fight and they just took me for a gang member and they started swinging on me. Thank God back then it was more of, chains and bats and knives, or even empty hands in that case, and that was all right with me because, that was right up my line. But Brownsville was a rough area where Mike Tyson is from, Riddick Bowe's from, and because of because of my martial arts training, like I said, it's enabled me to just survive a lot of dangerous situations physically. It's helped me survive situations, whereas if I didn't have the discipline, I probably would have, got into the drug situation, because it was hard times. I even had a dealer one time pull up in his Cadillac, and he said, "Yo, Crosson," he said, "I know you, brother. I know what you're doing. I know your martial arts stuff is good. If you just watch my back, I'll make you a rich man. Just ride with me." And tempting as it might have sounded, because I might have had like 35 cents in my pocket starving, I said, "No, my man, I can't do it. Can't do it. That's not what I'm about." And I always remember that. And I don't know, it's just so much. I get a little emotional when I go back, because a lot of my friends got killed, cousins got killed. My brother, he actually OD'd on drugs. I have cousins who OD'd on drugs. And like I said, and I keep saying, by the grace of God, I was guided to do the martial arts. I was guided away from all that craziness, and I've been able to survive all that and continue to tell the story. So it's more than just the physical part. It's the mental part, and it's also dealing with the spiritual aspect of just trying to be more righteous in your dealings with people in life and generally.
Grandmaster Crosson.
Yes.
So let me chime in here. Did you start boxing in that part of New York, Brooklyn? Where did your boxing come from? Because I did read your bio. You got a lot of boxing.
Yeah, well, after the Ali Frazier fight, that was it. I was convinced. After I saw Ali.
Which one? The first fight or the second one? Which one?
Oh, well, the first one I was convinced. The second one I was definitely convinced. And I was, Dr. Powell, he also was into the boxing thing. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know. Oh, yeah, he was fluent. Oh, yeah. I mean, he showed me quite a few things also, but he was into the boxing. But I would say that Dr. Powell's not a guy that you would want to start a fight with. I don't care if you had your boys with you, gun, knife, you wouldn't want to start a fight with him. So that's another story. But, yeah, so I saw Muhammad Ali, and that really sparked my interest in boxing. Because back then, karate was the thing. But
yes, sir.
I took interest in boxing. I went to a gym. It was at a Naval retirement home, I think it was. But one of the first people that I met, I didn't know who he was, and I'll tell you who it was in a minute. But he was the boxing coach there, so he said, "Let me see your stance." I told him I want to learn how to box. He said, "Let me see your stance." I got in the karate stance, and he smacked me upside my head. And he said, "If an old man like me could do that, what is somebody else who really is trying to take you out going to do?" And it was Sandy Sadler, old-time fighter, Sandy Sadler. And from there, he just started showing me the jab and some footwork and giving me some of the philosophies of boxing, or the sweet science, as they call it. And I just kept doing it. And I never forget, I was hitting the bag one time, and I had no endurance. I thought I was in shape, but for boxing, that was a different story. I'm hitting the bag, and I'm remembering how Ali, he would tie his opponents up and stuff. So I'm trying to pretend like I'm Ali. I'm grabbing the bag. He said, "Man, are you trying to hit the bag or kiss it? Get off the bag." So I never forget that. But that was one of my first boxing experiences, and I just stayed with it. And over the years, I really got into the boxing, and I was able to be around a lot of fighters and be in their training camp or see them training and then connect with them. And I wound up working with them either doing security. In some cases, I actually sparred with some of them. I've worked with people like Roberto Duran, and I've been around Wilfredo Benitez, who's an old-time fighter who Sugar Ray Leonard won the title from. I've done security, like I said, for a lot of the guys. Sugar Ray Leonard. Been around Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is an old-time ninjutsu practitioner. He trained with a brother named Ali, yeah, and he loves the martial arts, by the way. Yeah, but
hey, Grandmaster, let me cut in here. Let me ask you this next question. When Doc left New York, how did the absence of him from New York affect all the students? Like I know there was we did an interview with Sister Arlette Pender a few interviews back, and she was talking about the greats like yourself and Sophie Littlejohn and a sister named Alberta. But when Doc went to Miami, Florida, what was that vacuum like when he was no longer in New York City and you guys were just there, left by yourself pretty much?
Well, the thing is, before Doc even left, I mean, I had been with Doc, and we still had traveled to Panama, and we went on a tour through the United States, Doc, Soke Littlejohn, and myself. So, I would still be in touch with them. But when Sanukas closed down, it's like a lot of the brothers just disappeared, fell to the wayside, some of the old-time guys. And I lost touch with a lot of them. But I continued to train, and one of the things that Doc told me back then, he said, listen, he said, you've come too far to just stop training. He said, first and foremost, I know, that will never happen. He said, but I just want you to know, you have my blessings, and you do whatever you're going to do with your martial arts and continue to take it to the next level. And that was the time when I actually started doing demonstrations at the Garden and so forth. I had the opportunity, let me say this first and foremost, to perform at the Garden with Dr. Powell like maybe about 4 or 5 times in Madison Square Garden, which was also a life-changing experience. But it was like a void there. It was like emptiness. But I had this embedded in me, and I had to continue to train. And I didn't know where the other brothers were or what they were doing, but it was something that I had to do, and I couldn't let it die because it was in me. It was something that has been in me since 3 years old. So it was, how would I say? I don't know. It was like a void there. It was like a void because, of course we miss Doc, but he lived within me because, I still maintain my level of training, my conditioning, and just continue to reflect on the things that I learned from him as well as my other instructors. But I continue to just grow and continue to build on the things that he had taught me. But Sanukas, it just faded out for a minute.
And so that leads me to my next question, Grandmaster, which is what made you create Shuguru Jiu-Jitsu and not continue and commit their rule under Sophie Littlejohn? Because from my studies and from these other interviews, when that vacuum came about, it seemed like a lot of masters or a lot of people went with the Comite Rule route. What made you, did you go with Comite Rule, or did you kind of do your own thing with Shuguru? How did, what was going on with the formation of Shuguru, and why didn't you go with the Comite Rule route?
Well, I didn't even know if Comite Rule, if that was the name back then, because when I was with Soke Littlejohn, I mean, we still had a good rapport. I think he had moved out of town. I don't know what exactly happened there, but we stayed in touch. I'm not sure if he went to Florida or what, but it's like we separated. And what happened, I started doing a lot of touring, doing seminars. I started teaching in different locations in Brooklyn. And Soke Littlejohn, I'm trying to think. You probably would have to ask him if he moved out of town, but I don't recall that he was around as much as he used to be. I mean, when Sanukas broke up, I didn't have contact with anybody for a while, but Soke and I, we still stayed in touch. I was with him. He had a class at Brooklyn College, and he had some other classes. So we still stayed in touch, and I still trained with him. I just didn't make a big deal about it. But Dr. Powell had blessed me to do my own system. He blessed. He always told me, you have you have a gift with this. You have a what was the word he used? But he basically said that, I had a special gift with this. It's not like the average person. I can't word it, because Dr. Powell, he was just smooth with the words. He would say, my brother, let me just tell you. And, he would come with the fluent words. But pretty much I realized at an early age, like I said, that, this was something that I wanted to do the rest of my life. But Dr. Powell, when we, I guess, saw each other the last time before he, I don't know if he started traveling again or whatever, but it just kind of faded out for a minute. But I continued to train. I continued to stay in touch with him when I could. He would call me. I would, try to call him if I could get hold of him. And, we had a lot of quality time together. And that was something that, as I remember it now, is wow. Not to get emotional, but yeah, because you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth. I remember the good times with Dr. Powell, and I remember the influence that he's had on me and all the positive things that I got from him. I try not to think about the fact that he's not here in the physical sense. So I guess I just, not that I will ever forget him, because I have his picture, in my home. I have his picture in my dojo. But, I try not to go to the thought of thinking that he's not here anymore.
Grandmaster, I know you called it Sugar. Why Sugar? What is the name Sugar?
Okay, well, Sugar's the name given to me at birth. And Ryu, it could represent system, style of school. So Shuguru represents the birth of a new system. And what I did was I also incorporated the boxing into what I did. I incorporated the different aspects of weaponry, the bow staff and the chuckers. I used to do the commas and the sickles. I used to have these big round sickles that I would compete with. And that's before anybody on the circuit, before I knew of anybody doing any weapons form. The first time I did a weapons kata in about 1971, they looked at me like I was crazy and said, that's not a kata. And I said, it's a kata, and I actually won. But no one was doing kata. No one was doing any spins and turns, and I just kind of brought my own flavor. I would have my red, black, and green gi on and with my afro coming in with the beatbox and put the music on. What is this guy doing? And I would do my thing. And, a lot of times in the beginning they would just kind of laugh and, yeah, well, come back again. And I kept coming back, and then I started winning second, third, second. And then I started winning first, and then that was it. I was on my way. So I created Shuguru from my life experiences. So I created a variety of, I actually, years ago, I kind of coined the phrase urban streetology self-defense. I mean, years back, but that's what I incorporated, and what I call urban streetology, which was learning to utilize the various elements of the street to your advantage. So I use my street knowledge of how the mentality of a mugger, or how things that I experienced. For instance, on the train, I've seen guys get their pockets sliced open and their money taken, right, or their wallet taken. Right, and
yeah,
so that was things, just being aware at all times, whether you're on the train, whether you're walking down the street, walking in the restaurant. I was standing there. Guy comes in, pulls the gun, and holds up the restaurant. So I started to incorporate the awareness and the common sense, and just being aware of your surrounding environment. But the Shuguru incorporates the karate, judo, kung fu, the boxing, the weaponry, the self-defense. And I'm going to say this, and if anybody want to dispute this, they can give me a call. But the flying rollout that you see these days, I started that. The flying rollout. So, these guys, they're flying and jumping and all that there. I started that. Nobody was doing any flying rolls. They were doing the regular rolls and stuff. Back in the days, I used to just put chairs and stuff, and then I would do it in demonstrations, and Dr. Powell would say, "Fly, Brother Robert, fly, show him how." And I would just dive up and do a mixture of gymnastics and the flying roll, and then I start diving over swords, and I start diving over people's heads, and I start just flying on the concrete, and it was something that I can truthfully say that I created. So, you know, I'm happy to see that a lot of brothers are doing it now, but just to set the record straight, I started the flying roll. But Sugar, like I said, is the name that was given to me, nickname at birth. My mother named me Sugar. I guess I was a sweet little kid back then. I don't know. But, yeah, so Shuguru was the system. So it was my style of martial arts, which I used to be in a drum and bugle corps. I was a drill instructor, so I incorporated some of the drills that we used to do into my system. I also used some of the patterns that I used to play the drum, but I would play that on a person's chest when I was punching or striking. And the gymnastics, I never went to school for gymnastics, but if I saw a mattress out in the street, I would stand on top of something and do a flip. And after a while, I got pretty good at it. And I kind of incorporated that where I could do a flip and I could kick somebody. I didn't know anything about capoeira or anything like that back then, but I just had this creativity inside of me, and I started putting it all together. And it came together. And like I said, when I saw Dr. Powell, and I would have to look at my certificate there because that was the time he promoted me to 8th degree black belt. But
1 second, Grandmaster.
We were in Newark, Jersey, and
Grandmaster, that was 8th degree. And what year was that in 8th degree?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have to look at my certificate. Let me see if I have it in here, because I'm actually in my dojo.
No problem.
Let me see.
And also, Grandmaster, I want to add something. What year did Shuguru was it created?
Okay. This here, Shuguru. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Shuguru was actually created about 1979.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's when I was born.
Yeah.
32 years ago.
Right, I have my certificate right here. This is one of my certificates. Let's see, May 21st, 1988.
Wow, he was an 8th degree in 1988.
Yeah, and this is official certificate signed by Dr. Powell. I don't know if they even have these anymore.
Damn.
Yep. Yeah.
This is true. This is the truth.
Promotions after that, and through Professor Florendo visitation also, you know. So, but you know what? To tell you the truth, I don't know. This is not about me, man. This is about the doc. And like I said, he was a legend, and people don't know the greatness and the magnitude of the knowledge and the wisdom and the skill level of what Dr. Powell possessed. Because I've seen some amazing stuff, and I've felt some amazing stuff close up. I remember one more thing that comes to mind. When we were in, I don't remember the exact place. It might have been Grenada, but we were doing a demo. I threw a punch. He did some stuff. I don't know what it was to this day. I'd have to go to the videotape if there is one. But my shoulder came out of socket, and my arm just went dead. And I said, Doc, my arm is out. I can't move this arm. He said, oh, it's a good thing you got two. Come with the other one. So I couldn't stop. I came with the other arm, and he did something, and blah, blah, slammed me and did a move, blah, blah, and put my shoulder back in place. And that was it. And he said those famous words, hook to the head. Yeah, so that was... he threw me off the stage one time. We were in another city. I don't know if it was St. Vincent. I don't know. I can't recall where all the beatings took place, but it was on-the-job training. But he threw me off the stage, and I never forget. I flew up. Well, you know what? that might have been one of the flying roles there. That's right. He threw me off because he knew I could handle it, but he threw me off the stage. And, I lost my balance kind of because it was such a force. And I'm rolling, I'm like maybe 4 or 5 feet in the air, and I come down, I smack out, but I kind of lost my balance on that one, and I fell in the audience. And I just sat down, and I started hugging this lady, and how you doing? You all right? And she looked at me like I was crazy. You know, I never forget that time. But, wow. You know, you're actually bringing back memories here. I mean, this is bringing back memories, me talking to you, because it's just so many good memories that I have of the doc.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you're listening to Grandmaster Robert Crosson, Shuguru Jiu-Jitsu, one of the legends of Sanukas Ryu Jiu-Jitsu on the Dr. Moses Powell. Before I bring in my brother in the Sanukai Dojo, Orpheus walk up with some questions, and also went to the heart-to-heart segment. Do you have any other questions for the Grandmaster?
Yeah, definitely I do. Let me tell Grandmaster a short story real quick. Grandmaster Crosson, the late great Carol Muhammad Little, he had a huge video collections, and one of them was a Shuguru video. And I happened to walk in his house one day. He invited me, and I went to his room and was watching Sugar. And of course, I knew Sugar, but I wasn't familiar with what Sugar was and who Sugar was coming out of the Florida Sanukas movement. We weren't that familiar with what was going on up north. So I said, who was that? I said, that's Sugar. I said, oh, that's Sugar. And you had a couple of big guys, and they had red geese on, and you were just doing your thing. I said, what is he doing? He said, Sugar came from Sanukas, but he's doing his thing. He calls it Shuguru. And I said, Shuguru. And then he looked at me and said, man, let me tell you what Doc said, that Sugar's a bad man. And when he looked at me, he looked at me like listen to what I'm saying, because you're going to remember this. He said, Sugar is a bad man. That's what he said Doc said about you to him. And he told that story to me. So even though I have never met you, just from watching you on the videotape, we're talking about 8-9 years ago, Grandmaster. He said Doc said Sugar is a bad man. So once you said that, I had to help you.
Thank you. Well, you know, some of the brothers from back in the day, they know me, and some don't, you know, because unfortunately I didn't get to meet a lot of the brothers on the other side, northern side or western side or whatever. But, you know, I'm still around. I'm still doing seminars. As a matter of fact, this week I'll be in Florida. I'm being inducted into the American Federation of Martial Arts Hall of Fame. So I'm going to be out there, and about 5 of my black belts will be out there. We're doing a demonstration. I'm going to be doing a seminar, and then 3 weeks from then, I'll be in Dominican Republic in Santo Domingo and La Romana and Santiago. I'll be teaching seminars out there. I've trained some of the police and even some of the military out there, so I'll be doing some stuff out there. But I've been doing this thing a long time, and, you know, it's very seldom that I can do a rollout and I don't think about Doc. You know, that's crazy. And I've done hundreds of thousands of rolls. But, you know, Doc, he was just, wow, he was just a great man. He was a great man, and, you know, it's his shoulders that I stand on. You know, I stand on his shoulders. And let me say this, and Soke Little John, I got a lot from Soke Little John, a whole lot. And definitely a lot about the fighting, and, you know, he taught me a lot about the Shotokan karate and katas and stuff, and just standing up for what you believe in.
Yes, sir.
You know, I never forget, I was at a tournament. He said, if this guy beats you, I'm going to whip you, and then Doc's going to whip you. So you know I beat the guy, right?
Listen, Grandmaster Crosson, from your time with both Dr. Moses Powell and Soke Little John Davis, do you consider, were they always 1 and 2? Soke Little John was always right there with Doc, the number 2 man.
Yeah,
right,
that's it.
Dr.
1 and 2, that's it. Ain't no others in there. Yeah, 1 and 2, that's it.
And this is exactly, so they were always 1 and 2. It was always Doc and Soke Little John.
Yeah.
From your time in Sanukas Ryu. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. That's good to hear from you, because I want to hear somebody who was there.
You know, other people came up and popped in there and stuff. That is it.
Oof.
Grandmaster, you know, so could Little John. He didn't tell me this person, although he is going to give us an interview shortly. But I heard that Doc. It was said that Doc, you know, created Sanukas on Soke Little John. Have you heard that before?
That he created it on Soke Little John?
Yeah,
I could believe it. I could believe it. I think I might have had a little piece of that too. Yeah.
Can you talk on that? Like, can you talk on that creation? Like when he was putting it together.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you some of the days. Doc would come in and he would be hyped up, and if you didn't know how to fall or you wasn't ready to take a whipping, you should have stayed home. But he would say things like, I'm getting ready to demonstrate a technique. This is a very deadly technique. It's very hard to control, and you know, I really don't teach it because it's so deadly and effective, and one slip up and the person is gone. And then he would say, Brother Rob, come. And I'd be like, why me? Yeah. And he would do this technique, and it would be amazing.
We only have 51 minutes left. That time just flies so much. Before I move into this heart-to-heart segment, let me bring in my brother Orpheus Walk. I know you may have some questions.
Yes. Okay.
Grandmaster, the joke. How joke?
Grandmaster, how you doing?
Oh, I'm great and getting better, brother. Great and getting better. Let me just say something. You know, the reason I say great and getting better, a lot of times you ask someone how they feel, and they say, I'm all right. Oh, man, this day was crazy. And, you know, what you say is what you feel. And I believe even if you're not feeling that good, you tell yourself, I'm feeling great, and I'm getting better. And through the universe, that energy is going to come to you. So I'm great and getting better, brother.
Oh, man. Happy to hear that, Grandmaster.
Yes.
Grandmaster, Brother Shabazz, he forwarded me a video clip of you also doing demonstration, and I mean it was just full of energy. It was full of creativity. I mean, when did you start doing like these demonstrations? And I mean, because what you do is completely different. I mean, from a lot of other Sanukas videos, you know, you demonstrate Sanukas or whatever, Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, you add like a little bit of, you put a little comedy in it. I mean, what made, I mean, is that just you naturally? I mean, you just,
it's in me. Like I said, this is what the Creator put me here to do, and I had my own flavor, and, you know, I mean, all praises due to all the brothers that are doing their thing, but this was the flavor. And Dr. Powell, he recognized that at an early age, and he said, you have my blessings. He said, you know, and basically he said, I'm not going to try to hold you back because you have this in you, and I want to give you all that I can give you now, and you take what else you got, and you just go into the world and do your thing. And that's pretty much what he said to me. And, I mean, we've had a lot of personal conversations, and I always have tried to maintain a level of humbleness because I realize this skill that was given to me can be taken away like that. So what is the purpose of this skill? And that's something that I constantly ask myself, and what is my purpose? And one of my purposes right now, I'm going to get back to what you were asking there, but one of my purposes is to pass this knowledge on, and hopefully it will touch somebody's life in a positive way, whereas it will help them to grow and also take it into the world. And if it's even so much as telling a kid, respect the values of all existing life, and respect others, and that kid learned that might be something to save that kid from killing somebody one day, going and robbing a bank, or going and trying to hold up some older person, or trying to attack someone, or losing the self-control and hurting someone, then wind up in jail. So it's another life that's taken away, another mother that's hurt. So, you know, that's some of what I have tried to do in the world now. When I travel, I talk to a lot of youth, and I try to teach them. And let me just say this right quick. This is a little bit of my creed. We have a creed that says, as a dedicated disciple of Grandmaster Robert Crosson, I will respect the values of all existing life. I will never misuse or abuse my martial arts skills. I will be courteous, considerate, and kind to others. I will strive each and every day to be the very best that I can be. I will say no to drugs and yes to success, because I am on a quest to be my very best. For I am number one. I am a disciple of Shuguru. And I emphasize that with all my students. I teach kids from age 3.5, and I try to instill the values, the respect, the focus, the discipline, the concentration. So at this point, I'm still running, flipping, and doing all that craziness, but I'm trying to instill that into as many kids as I can and teens, and hopefully they'll pass that on to someone else, and somewhere along the line, the world will become a better place. But getting back to your question, I always have had this creativity in me, and the fact that I grew up around entertainment. My father was an entertainer. I had cousins that used to sing and stuff, so I was around entertainment. But at age, I would say 18, 19, I had the privilege of doing security with different groups. I used to work with groups way back in the day and before that, but I wound up working with groups like Black Ivory, The Temptations, Ray Goodman and Brown, who was the Moments back then. Later on, I worked with Blue Magic, the OJs, the Dells, the Delphonics, the Spinners, and I would see these guys with the flair, and they coming out and stuff, and all the women are screaming. I said, whoa, if I could make a woman scream because I'm doing karate, that'd be good. But you know what? I want to just people scream, period, and say, sugar, or, and just be happy that they came to see this event, this show, So that was my thing. So I said, I'm going to become an entertainer of the martial arts. And I always had this energy, and I wanted to bring something different to the martial arts. So I incorporated, like I said, the flipping, the tumbling, the acrobatics. And then, you see a lot of the masters, grandmasters, grand poobahs or whatever, who you can't even approach. I'm Bushido, and, you bow when you see me. Why? Why be like that? If Dr. Powell was like that, the first time I met him, I probably would have never experienced what I've experienced in my life. But he took me in and he said, yeah, well, you come in. He said, you're kind of young, but you come in, you can hang around and, do a little something there. And the same with Soge Little John. So my thing is to entertain people. But, what do they call that? Edutainment, where you educate them and entertain them. So I wanted to bring martial arts, some serious martial arts, show that, I had skill and ability, but at the same time I had the ability to maybe make people laugh, because those people that came to see the show, I didn't know what they may have been through that day. They might have lost a job, lost a loved one. They may have been through some serious trauma or whatever in their life, and they come to see a martial arts show, and, okay, I'm going to see a show. But then when the laughter came into play, I would do things like I would put on a wig and act like grandma walking down the street and somebody trying to mug her. And, the thing is, someone said to me, they said, man, it took a lot of courage to do that, because, you're the master, or you're the, the big guy who people know as this deadly martial artist, but then you put on a wig and you switch and you clown and stuff. Do you feel that people would disrespect you? I said, no, people have embraced me because of that, because it's not who I am. It's just I'm putting on a little act there. I'm lifting people's spirits, and at the end of the day, people would come up and say, man, thank you, that I needed that. That was wow, that was magnificent. And, that was a good feeling. So, I incorporated, like I said, the comedy. Kids loved it, and then it inspired people to get more involved in the martial arts, because they saw that not all the so-called masters were killers, whereas if you walk into school, they're going to chop your head off or whatever. They kind of got the idea that, okay, well, I guess, karate instructors are approachable. If that guy is like that, maybe I can find someone like that to train under that would be a little less, well, not strict, but a little less, just someone that wouldn't try to kill me when I walk through the door, for lack of better words. But
Grandmaster, you was featured in the World Greatest Jiu-Jitsu Masters. What influence did Dr. Powell have on your jiu-jitsu flow?
Well, like I said, from the first time I saw him, to see a man of his size being able to flow and move like that.
And also, how did you get that? How did they select you as one of the world's greatest jiu-jitsu masters in the world?
Who did that? I don't even know about it. I don't know.
No, Shihan, you know that, or was it Joker? We read somewhere that he was in the world's...
No, listen, Grandmaster Crosson, I was in Fighting International magazine, and I saw you listed, I think it was in London, England. You were doing a demonstration or something with a bunch of other...
Yeah, I was out in London, yes. Yes, I've been out.
And I said, man, go ahead, brother, go ahead.
Well, I guess that's other people labeling me according to what they feel. But, like I said, I'm just a blessed individual here on the planet trying to just pass this knowledge on and try to just give this to as many people as possible so that hopefully it will empower their lives and help them to live a better life and, be safer on the international streets of the world. But, I've gotten different titles, it's so much stuff. Like you just told me that, I'd have to look that up because, there's so much stuff. People used to tell me, oh, you're in the magazine. They said you're the greatest of, I don't know who said that. I must have paid somebody or something.
Grandmaster Crosson, the Europeans, and no shot at the Americans, but the Europeans, they really take their martial arts seriously. Not almost as seriously as the Japanese. They're really, really good. I did judo in Germany, and I can tell you the Germans don't play. And also in England, I've been to England a few times. So when I saw Shuguru, Grandmaster Robert Crosson, and they had like 10 masters there, I said, man, I thought Shuguru maybe was just localized in New York City, maybe Carolina here and there. But when I saw London, England, I said, man, look at the professor doing this thing, Grandmaster doing this thing. So you are known worldwide now. I've been to various parts of the world. I've done a few and respected. I want to add that. Respected. Yeah. Well, the thing was, I went out there to London the first time, and they had this thing. I don't know if they got this thing against Americans or whatever, but it was like this hard face. Yeah, let's see what you're going to do. This is what we do. And they did their thing. Let's see what you're going to do. The person that brought me in, he knew, so he was grinning. And I just did what I did. And, I talked to them, and I told them about, I talked about the egos, check the ego at the door. If you want to get the knowledge, you have to humble yourself and empty your cup and just come in and learn. Open your mind. This is not about who you can beat. So what? You can punch anybody in the face and knock them out. Mike Tyson got knocked out. Some of the greatest fighters. So it's not so much about that, but what can you pass on into the world that's going to make a difference? And I just talked to him, and I gave him respect. And by the time I finished, it was just good vibes and things turned out well. So that's good to know that they wrote that. I wish I would have got that magazine. I didn't get the memo.
Hey, Grandmaster, before I move into the heart-to-heart segment, I want to play a clip of you. This is you and Yamada Sensei, and this is Grandmaster Robert Sugar Crosson at Madison Square Garden. I'm just going to play this clip, and we're going to talk about it. 1 second.
Okay.
If you go to YouTube and Google Yamada Sensei and Sugar Crosson at MSG, you can definitely see what I'm looking at. Grandmaster, can you tell us what happened that day with Yamada? And who was Yamada Sensei?
He was I really don't know him. He was a Aikido instructor from Japan, as far as I know. Dynamic Aikido practitioner. I just was there to do a demonstration that day. I didn't know who else was on the card or whatever, but I just knew that I was there to do what I do. So, as a matter of fact, I think we had on red and white, right?
Yes, you did.
We had on red and white geese, my students? Right.
Yeah.
Well, another thing is I used to make all my uniforms. I used to make my keys. And one of the ways I came about doing that was that I used to see Dr. Powell, and he'd be clean in uniform and out of uniform. He would have these nice tailor-made gis. I've never seen gis like that with the hakamas and oh, man. He was sharp. If he was in a uniform, then he was sharp. If he was in regular clothes, he was sharp. And that just prompted me to want to learn more about, or to learn how to sew, because at first I had people making gis for me, but I still had this creativity in me. And like I said, I used to work with different groups, so I would come home from a show working with the Temptations or the Delphonics, and they got on this sparkling stuff and glitter, and I said, man, I need to find some material like that and make a gi. And nobody had gis like that, and I would make a gi. I've made gis in leather and sparkling glitter and suede and velvet and with bells on the side. And that particular day, I made gis from the uniforms for my students, which were, I think it was red and white with the commas. I don't quite remember. I've made thousands of them, or I've had thousands of uniforms, should I say. But that day, it was a great day. They had a lot of masters. They had masters from Japan and all over the world and all different styles of martial arts. It was the Oriental World of Self-Defense. And I believe that was also featured on the Wide World of Sports, then a Sports Spectacular. It's been featured on different sports programs. And I just wanted to come and represent.
Before I go to the Heart and Heart section, this question has been on my mind for 15 years. When I told you, when I talked to you, my mother and I met you one time about 15 years old. I came, we was talking, and you told me to throw a jab. I threw a jab. You hit my bicep, my entire hand paralyzed for about 10 seconds. I still remember this like it happened yesterday. What did you do? What did you do to my body?
Oh, man, I can't tell the secret. They might arrest me. Beating on a minor. No, well, it's just about learning the anatomy of the body, and, you have different pressure points. You got pressure points throughout the body. And the pressure point is pretty much wherever you put enough pressure on that point, it's going to hurt. So if I took a pencil and I pushed it anywhere on your body hard enough, you're going to feel that pain. So if I could develop enough pressure with my fingertips to apply that pressure wherever I touch, then you're going to feel it. And there's certain parts of the body where you can immobilize a person. If you hold your elbow in a certain area and you squeeze it tight enough, you can't bend your elbow. You can't straighten it out. And in some cases, even if you hold your wrist real tight or someone holds your wrist tight, you'll find it hard if you have a balled fist to open your hand. So I just kind of studied the anatomy of the body and stuff that maybe is not in the anatomy and science books. It's like, for instance, you ever run to go, whether it's in the kitchen or wherever, and you hit your shin on the coffee table? That's a pain. Yeah. Right, so I figured, hey, if I could kick somebody in that same area, they're going to feel that. So I started experimenting and just trying different unconventional pressure points, and a lot of them worked, and I just kind of perfected them over the years. So I've learned stuff. I never went to school for acupuncture or anything like that, but I can do a little something when it comes to adding some pain or relieving pain even, so that's part of Shuguru.
Shihan, you have any questions with the Grandmaster? I'll move into the heart-to-heart segment.
Now, we got about, about a half hour. No, let's go ahead and move on to the heart-to-heart.
Okay, so Grandmaster, we're going to move into the heart-to-heart segment. So I'm just going to play the heart-to-heart, moving us into that. We just move that into the... Okay. All right. Grandmaster. So, I'm just waiting for the heart to stop. Technology is amazing.
Hey, listen, do a heart punch.
Grandmaster.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. Before your greatness and skills, you're like I said, I mean, in my opinion, I don't care nobody else. In my opinion, you're like you're right up there, Muhammad. You're great. You're a legend in the Sanukas Ryu legacy. But with all your greatness, all your skills, how come we never see you at any of the Sanukas events? It seems as though you've been isolated from the Sanukas Ryu family. Like, why is that?
Well, the thing is, I constantly travel, and the thing is, to tell you the truth, I don't get the memo. No one calls me. I don't know why, but I just don't really research it. I mean, I get a few calls, but a lot of times I'm out of the country. I travel quite a bit, and then I'm here at my school. So I've kind of kept a low profile for the last few years, I travel in and out of the country, or I may do things around the country. But, I mean, if someone invites me to come and do a seminar, I do seminars, I teach, but I just don't get a lot of calls. So, and, sometimes I get the call, but the timing is not right. So I would like to attend some of these events, but right now I've been just kind of focusing on my school. I have a nice dojo here in New York, but I've been focusing on the students, and I need to get out more often as far as some of the social events. I just haven't been out, and a lot of times people will call me the last minute and say, we have something coming up next week, and it doesn't work for me. And then sometimes, to be truthful, there's some politics involved, and I try not to get caught up in that. I try to just stay neutral when it comes to all the craziness.
Yes, sir.
But that's a whole nother story. But if you guys invite me out to come out and do a seminar, I would be more than happy to come on out. Or anybody out there in TV land, that's what I do.
Absolutely. Just to add to that, Grandmaster, Adam, what Shabazz just said, it's almost as if you've been written out. Because, like I said, I've been a Sanukas for 25, 27 years.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's almost like your name has been written out of Sanukas. And like I said, we're talking about Doc, Soki, Little John, and Sugar Crosson. You were there, definitely were there, and everybody knows you. But when you speak of Sanukas, we can speak of Sanukas. We always include Kumite Ryu, or we always include a VSK or some other system, but we never include when we talk about Sanukas Shuguru. And I was just wondering, what would you attribute that to? As almost being written out of the entire Sanukas history, when we just learned just from you, like you said, and you challenge anybody.
I'm going to tell you the truth. There was a lot of big thing going on around when Doc was around. It was some things he wasn't very happy about, but then at the same time, Doc is Doc, and he tried to be fair with everybody. I never was one to really get mixed up in the politics, and, there's some things that kind of came down between some of the, I'll just say instructors.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
And I don't want to come from a point of sounding like I'm hating, but I just, I try to be on a positive kick. And, I talk to brothers, and, I have no animosity today, but I just, if it's not a total positive thing, I try to stay away from it. But you have some of the brothers who are, I would say, not representing Sanukas in a way that would make Doc proud.
You know what I don't understand, Grandmaster? Here it is. You got an eighth dan in 1988, and there's some guys that came in Sanukas in the 1990s, and they're Grandmasters.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. How could that be?
Well, brother, when you find out, you let me know, and that's why I said I just stepped back because, I really couldn't get involved in all that stuff. I had to continue to do what I'm doing, rather, and my thing was to go into the world and, like I said, just try to touch lives in a positive way and empower people with what God has given me. And as far as all the politics and all that stuff, it's not really helping anybody, and I don't like that kind of stuff. So I try to keep it pure, and I've been invited to a few things, but the timing may not have been right, or it just wasn't something that I felt was actually, how could I put this? I'll just say that I just didn't want to get caught up in some of the politics. So I just kind of sat back and started doing my thing. And a lot of brothers have reached out to me, and I've reached out to them, and I've, gone out and I've done seminars and stuff. But that was a question I asked. I said, they don't even really mention me that much, but, it's okay. It's all right. I know the true story. So, I'm not tripping on that. And let me tell you something. I pray maybe 10, 15, 20 times a day. I thank God every morning as soon as I get up, and I thank him for what he has given me, and I ask him to guide me. And if I'm meant to go somewhere or be somewhere, then I ask God if that's somewhere where he wants me to go or be, and what is his purpose for me going there, and what can I do to reflect on his greatness, and what can I do that's going to help others while I'm there. And that's what I try to do. I'm not trying to go nowhere to just sit up and talk about who did what in 1984 and who kicked this one and beat that one. The question is, how can we get together and make this thing work for other people in the world? You know, because my so-called greatness, I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm a martial artist who have had the opportunity to express myself, and fortunately the world has embraced me, so to speak. But
yes, sir.
Grandmaster, what was your relationship with Doc as a young man versus when you became a Grandmaster? Like, what was the difference? How did those two relationships change?
Well, he was the one actually that Doc actually said to me, he said, you know, he said, you have greatness in you. And he said, you have something that is unique. He said, and this is something that you need to take into the world. He said, and I remember he said, you have my blessings. He said, do whatever you want to do. He said, you call it Shuguru, you call it whatever you want to do. He said, you have my blessings. And we had a great relationship. And, you know, people talk stuff, oh, well, Sugar never this and he never that. Anytime I saw Doc, I blessed him. And Doc blessed me. And we had our private conversations, and Doc would go on and go to Florida or wherever he would go overseas and stuff. And when he came in town, he would call me. I didn't broadcast it. Hey, you know, Doc called me and we talked about this. That was a blessing to me, and that was something that the Creator gave me, that time with him, that personal time, you know. So it wasn't about me going out and telling folks, you know, Doc and I talked about this and we did that, and no. So I just
Grandmaster, let me ask you this question, and maybe this could have happened. I'm just going to paint a scenario. Let's say Doc came back to New York around 1990, whatever. And let's say he's driving down Atlantic Avenue or whatever. He called you up. He said, listen, I'm going to come stop by. He come by the dojo. He come by your dojo. You guys exchange some techniques. Before I continue, did something like this ever happen, like in the early 90s? Like, let's say he just came by the dojo. Did that ever happen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pause you there. Okay. Yeah. All right, let me pause you. Okay, so he comes over to the dojo. He just fresh out of Florida. At this point, he's developing eye to eye. You know, eye to eye. You look in the middle at 2 o'clock in the morning. What do you see? When he's in your dojo doing those short movements, and when he was into Pia and the nerve striking techniques, what did you see in the evolution of Sanukas Ryu coming when he came out of that Florida era?
Oh, let me tell you this one quick thing about Pia. I learned about Pia back in might have been 74, 73. You know, I started getting into it. But in any event, you know, Doc was always innovative. And anytime you saw him, whether he came out of Florida after not seeing him for 4 years or whether he came out of Brooklyn after seeing him 3 days ago, Doc always had something different. And it was like you ask yourself, well, and you were excited to say to yourself, ask yourself, what am I going to learn today? What is Doc going to do today? And he would always approach it from a different angle. You know, it would be Pia, it would be some other Pakwa, it would be, you know, some pressure points and nerves. So, you know, and it was just always amazing to me, the knowledge that Doc had. And a lot of people didn't recognize that. They didn't see a lot of that, but I got to see it. So it was beyond just doing techniques because, you know, he instilled things in me that allowed me to become a master technician as far as self-defense. But when he came in town, it really, to me, there was different angles, but a lot of the stuff that he introduced later on, I had got that years earlier. I had got it years earlier. And even Soke Little John, you know, he has his own style of, you know, he does Sanukas, but he has his own system, which is Kumite Ryu. But if you notice, his system is a little different. I mean, he has the kicks, the punches, the blocks. I even got like the fast hands from Soke Little John and a lot of the kicks and stuff. So I got some from Dr. Powell, some from Soke Little John, and some from Professor Florindo Visitation. I remember one time Doc told me, he said, when I first met Professor Florindo Visitation, I'm looking at him, I'm like maybe 16, and I'm saying, who's this old guy? And Doc said, yeah, throw a punch at him. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, Professor, he's going to throw a punch. I threw a punch. I'm going to tell you the truth. All I know is that I felt the block on my arm. My arm went numb like yours went numb, and I was waking up. He was rubbing my neck, and I was waking up, and Doc was cracking up. You want to know who he is now? I couldn't even. To this day, I don't know what happened.
So Grandmaster, and Grandmaster, in 73, 74, when you was on in PIA, I was talking to Professor Yusuf Rahman, and he told me that PIA from back in the day was actually ground fighting or grappling. Was PIA, was it ground fighting or was it nerve techniques or was it, what was PIA in the early 70s?
I don't remember a lot of ground fighting. We used to fight from where we were. If we were on the ground, we would fight. All this grappling and stuff, they try to make it like it's something new. It's not new. But it was more of a system. It was similar to Kung Fu, and it was, what is the system that Grandmaster Marcy used to teach? Banjo, where he used to do the cobra strikes and snake system and so forth. So it wasn't a lot of ground fighting as far as I can recall. I mean, maybe there was ground fighting incorporated in it, but I used to do the forms. I haven't done those forms in years, so I probably wouldn't remember them now unless I see them. But it was more striking. It was quick strikes like a cobra. It was light movement like Kung Fu, darting in and out. And then Doc, he added some of his own flavor to it, so it was like, wow. It's something that you would have to see in order to understand it. It's like if you told someone what I did and they really have never seen martial arts, or even if they did, you would have to see the exact flavor and the mixture in order to really get a full idea of what it is that you're talking about,
So back in those days, he did a lot of nerve strikes even back then?
Well, he did nerve strikes, he did the throws, he did locks, he did cutting the throat with the fingernails, he did boxing, mix. He did a variety of things. I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen him do was amazing. And the thing is, he's done it on me. And I'm like in a daze flying in the air saying, wow, that was nice. And then I realized I'm like 4 or 5 feet in the air getting ready to slam the ground. It's time to smack out. And then you get up and you come again. But, yeah, Doc just had it was no one like him. I've never seen anybody with that, quite that fluidity. You got a lot of people that try to imitate. They may have a little something, but there can never be another Doc, Dr. Powell. I call him Doc, and, that's personal thing we used to have. I could call him Doc, but I would call him Sir, but I used to call him Doc in the latter days. But Doc had a flavor that couldn't be matched. But he produced a lot of good students, and because of his influence and because of what he brought to the world, even though Sanukas may not be as strong and as prevalent in the world as it was back then, there are a lot of brothers that are standing on his shoulders. And even though a lot of them came late, because you got a lot of brothers that came late and they're whatever, grand poobahs and all that, and that's up to them, and I can't take anything away from anybody because I don't know what they put into it. But like the brother said, there was Dr. Powell and there was Soke Little John. That's the two. And wherever I fit in there, I'm in there. I'm not even going to throw me in the equation, but that's the two.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Grandmaster, with so many great masters going off, like a lot of great masters that came out of the Sanukas bloodline, and with so many of those guys going off on their own, how can Sanukas be preserved for future generations?
Brother, that's a question to be asked. I can't answer that question because, one of the things that has to be first and foremost put in place is that the egos have to be put in check. And then the unity has to be put in check so brothers can come together and really have a serious conversation for a common cause. But that's been in the making for years. But it's always somebody that's going to trip. It's somebody that wants to, as they say, hate. But that's a good question. I'd have to think about that more. I'd have to think about that because, Doc is going, and Doc was I can't think of the word right now, but Doc was Sanukas. He was Sanukas, and he was the main force that kept Sanukas together. You got some folks claiming to be Sanukas, and well, I won't get into that. That'll be the next interview. But that's a good question. I'd have to think about that.
I do want to say this though, sir, is that we have this great organization that's been out a little time now. It's called the USFA. Grandmaster Anaconda is the senior Grandmaster Anaconda is the president of this federation, and it's an attempt to actually bring a lot of the masters together. Right now, there's 52 members in this organization, and I spoke to him personally, and I told him that everyone that I interviewed, I would like for him to give them a call. There's no pressure to join, but at least to start the dialogue of unity. In Islam, we have something called Ummah,
right.
and to bring about unity in the brotherhood. And so I just want you to know that. Expect a call from Grandmaster Anaconda.
Okay. And I want to say this on a different note outside of that, and this is just something that I want to personally throw out to the brothers, whether you're in the martial arts or not in the martial arts, and this is brothers all over the world, and this is men particularly, I'm saying, and this is directed to men. About 8 years ago, I was in good shape and everything. I went to the doctor to get my annual checkup, got my blood pressure checked and all that stuff, PSA, and the doctor said, hold up. He said, we're going to have to do further tests, and what's going on? So he did tests, and he said, yeah, you got it, like that. I said, got what? He said, you got cancer, and we're going to have to either operate immediately, you're going to need chemotherapy, or, you're going to have to figure out what you want to do because we don't have time, and you will probably never be able to have kids again, and we're not sure if the operation is going to be successful. And he threw all this stuff at me, and I'm like, hold it, wait. I got what? So what he had diagnosed was I had prostate cancer. He didn't, I think he could have told me in a better way, but in any event, I was wondering how that could happen to me, and I was in shape and training and all that. So I thought, but I just my reason for saying this is because when I travel, I also try to encourage men, especially the brothers. And let me just say this also: by the grace of God, once again, I was able to get treatment, and I made it through it. And my doctor, my last checkup about 2 weeks ago, my doctor told me, he said if I was in any better shape, I would be a robot. So that's a good report. But Grandmaster,
I want to thank you. Let me just give you an applause for that.
Yeah, thank you. But I just want to encourage you.
Absolutely.
Let me just say this right quick. I just want to encourage men to, put those egos aside because, sometimes we don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want another man checking us or touching us or, we can go out there and we'll deal with like fighting 5, 6 guys, but when it comes to one man trying to do examination that could save your life, I call it the one thing examination, we get all bent out of shape. that could save your life. So put the ego aside, put the fear of the unknown aside, because you want to be here for your family. You want to be here to continue to spread the knowledge and the wisdom and continue to help the youth to grow in a positive way. And the only way you want to do that is to take care of yourself. So the first law of survival is self-preservation. Do it, do it, do it. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, sir.
Grandmaster, let me ask you, what is the most crucial principle taught to you that opened up your mind to Sanukas Ryu? Like what was the most crucial principle you learned in Sanukas Ryu that just made everything else? You know, Soki Hassan, I keep playing him, but he said that Sanukas Ryu is the element of the creation. That really touched me. But what was that one element that you saw in Sanukas Ryu that you would say, okay, this principle can now, if I apply this to Kung Fu, I can apply this to Judo, I can apply it to boxing, and I could Sanukanize. Like, what is that one element, that principle in Sanukas Ryu that stands out to you?
Well, there's a few principles, but I think one of the key principles is to believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself, and to have a positive attitude about what you're doing. I mean, because if you don't believe in what you're doing, nobody else is going to believe in what you're doing. And if you believe in what you're doing, you're going to put the correct energy into it. And through that, whether it's karate, whether it's boxing, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whatever you do, it's going to work for you. But, you know, so I guess in a way to have the confidence and the, if you would say, self-esteem to believe, because I mean, I could say be humble. That's another part. But I think believing in yourself and what has carried me is because I believed in what I did. And because I believed in what I did, I believed I also had the ability to improve on what I was doing. And I also believed that I had the ability to pass this on so it could help others to improve their lives. So, you know, Doc instilled the confidence in me, and he said, you know, you can do this. He said, you have greatness in you, and you have my blessings, and go out there and do your thing. And he said, you can never quit. Never quit. So I believe in what I'm doing, and I think part of Sanukas was that we had the confidence because, you know, we had some bad brothers back in Sanukas, back in the day up to today. So believing in what you're doing and having that confidence to pass it on and let folks know, listen, this is a system that definitely can work for you, and it can help, it can save your life. You know, so I think the believing in yourself and having the confidence, that's one of the important factors, and that's something that was instilled in me at an early age, and that has helped me to just continue on my journey in life, whether it was through the martial arts or whether it was because of my seminars internationally. When I was in London, England, by the way, they had about 800 students there. And when I walked on the floor to do my thing, it was quiet, like, what is this guy going to do? If I didn't have the confidence and I didn't get out there and project the image of believing in myself or project the image of, well, I guess I could say authority to a degree, but technically believing in myself, if I didn't project that image, then I would have been, you know, it would have been dead before I got on the mat. But I stepped out, and as I always do, how's everybody doing? And they, oh, fine, mate. No, how's everybody doing? Let me hear it. And, you know, just projecting that positiveness and that energy, and that's what I do, whether I'm on the stage, whether I'm competing, or whether I'm teaching, and that's something that has carried with me. And I think that's something that I got from Sanukas that has carried with me the rest of throughout my life, and has helped me in all my endeavors.
Grandmaster, my last question is this: in all of your traveling around the world, and with over 50 years of experience, have you ever come across a martial artist better than Dr. Moses Powell?
No.
Wow. Now, this is a man that has 50 years.
Let me ask you: does that include my grandmother that had knocked me out?
No. That doesn't include her. No.
But you know, let me say this: you have martial artists who they bring different things to the table. I think Bruce Lee was a great martial artist in what he did, even though he was an actor. But from what I saw, you know, I respected his ability and what he brought to the table. you know, guys flip out on Chuck Norris was this, Seagal. I mean, let's not go there. Okay, but Dr. Powell, what he brought to the table, like I said, nobody could touch that. Now, you have different martial artists that are good at what they do and great at what they do, because a lot of them, especially the brothers from Sanukas Ryu, they stand on Dr. Powell's shoulders. And whether they came from another background, whether it was karate or another form of jiu-jitsu or kung fu or whatever, they brought in what they had and they added what Doc gave them, and they built on it, and it brought them to a higher level of perfection. So in my eyes, I think Doc is perhaps one of the greatest martial artists that I have ever seen.
Yeah. Let me. We got two calls. Let me just bring back the Joker and see if he had any last questions.
Okay.
Joker, you there?
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered a lot of the questions that I had asked. Like I said, I was definitely just pretty much interested in it. In the demonstrations and stuff like that. So definitely appreciate you sharing that information with Grandmaster.
My pleasure, brother.
And we have another caller, 3319. Let me see who this is. Welcome to On the Mat Show. Who's 3319? 3319. Okay, maybe they want to be quiet. All right. Shihan, you have anything you want to? Shihan, matter of fact, you could just close it out, and if you have anything else to ask the Grandmaster.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Grandma, before I even ask the question, tell the people where you are, the website, the address, and how they can reach you, and give them further information on Shuguru. I always look.
Okay. Well, I actually have a few DVDs out. I'm getting ready to produce some new DVDs, but the website right now, I'm going to be working on it to add some new information and so forth. That would be www.martialarts.com. I'm sorry, www.CrossonMartialArts.com.
Oh,
right. And that's the website. Or if you go online and you type in Shuguru on YouTube, it will probably bring up some different tidbits and bits and pieces of some of my DVDs or some of my video footage from demonstrations. And I'm located in Brooklyn, 1940 Rockaway Parkway in Brooklyn, New York. And the phone number here is 718-531-9646. And I'm available for demonstrations. I'm available for seminars, and I would love to come out to Atlanta. I haven't been to Atlanta since, I was out there with Blue Magic about 1980 or something like that. So
it has definitely changed.
Yeah. So and that's
Atlanta, and we definitely consider you a part of the family, and absolutely, we're not going to leave you out of the history of Sanukas Ryu, and absolutely consider you an integral part of Sanukas Ryu. One of the things that Shabbat brought to my attention once we did our research on you is that you were definitely one of the heavy hitters, but believe it or not, you're one of the people that no one seems to talk about in Sanukas Ryu. They talk about these other guys, which is deservedly so. Some of these guys are great grandmasters. Sugar was almost, I don't want to say intentionally, but was left out of the conversation. So when Shabazz brought that to my attention, I made sure that I did my research and said, absolutely, we have to get this brother on the air and let him tell the story, not only Sugar Ryu, but his relationship with Dr. Moses Powell and the Sanukas Ryu that we all love.
Right. Well, I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure, and I hope that perhaps through this conversation it's enlightened some folks and given them a different perspective. But it's just all so much, and even with 2 hours, it's still not enough time to really tell all the stories and to really let you know all of what has transpired over the years. Because I'm sure once I get off the phone, it's going to be like, wow, I should have told them about this time, about that time, because there's so many different things that has gone on, and it's so many good times that I've had with Doc and Soke Littlejohn. We actually, one more thing, we were in Las Vegas. We did a demonstration. We did a demonstration for Red Fox back then. It was his 50th birthday. And Doc introduced me to him, and he said, "Oh, so you a black belt?" Red Fox said. I said, "Yeah, I'm a black belt." He said, "Yeah, well, I'm a brown belt. I got a brown belt with a gun in it." You know, I don't forget that. Yeah. So I've had some great times.
Well, you know, Grandmaster, anytime you want to do a show, matter of fact, we've had several masters call us back and do another show. Anytime you want to do another show, or we just want to kick it, or something on your heart, you got my number. I schedule an interview, and we'll go at it again anytime.
Okay, I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. One more time, you brothers out there and you men, go get your examination on a daily basis. And you ladies, you talk to them and get them to those doctors and let them do what they got to do so they can make sure that they're all right in their round. And as we say, don't be scared. Just go ahead and do it. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I enjoyed talking to you, but it's actually about 11 o'clock now, and I got to go run about 5 miles tonight. So, I got to.
Shihan, why don't you close the show out?
Oh, thank you again, Grandmaster Crosson. Enjoy your run, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much, and may God bless you and all of your listeners. Wish you peace, prosperity, and happiness, and we will do this again.
And Grandmaster,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Shihan. No, go ahead.
We just finished a great and historic interview with Grandmaster Robert Sugar Crosson, Brooklyn, New York, founder and Grandmaster of Shuguru Jiu-Jitsu, 8th degree black belt in Sanukas Ryu Jiu-Jitsu. And this interview was brought to you by www.sinjokai.com, your premier Sanukas Ryu dojo located here in Atlanta, Georgia. You can be reached at 404-936-3764. And for more information on our dojo, our upcoming online program, and any information on the further interviews, please visit our website. Once again, that's sinjokai, Kai.com, or sinjomartialarts.com and click on the Blog Talk Radio section on the website, and you can hear any of the archives interviews, as well as find out information on Dr. Moses Powell, his Sanukas Ryu, and some of the senior Sanukas practitioners, both who have passed and who are still with us. All right, gentlemen. I want to say thank you for the interview. We can close this by saying eye to eye.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart.
And each one teaches
heart to heart.
The wall and back. Thank you, Grandmaster Crosson.
Thank you.